What is repetition? We have already talked about how proximity and alignment help you create better designs. Now, let's talk about our next basic principle, one that I am pretty sure you have already used: repetition. In design, repetition is the principle that implies that you should repeat some style or aspect throughout your entire design piece. This principle helps you create consistency in your designs. I am completely sure that you have already used this principle, even if you weren't aware of it. Just think about it. When you repeat the same font size to create titles or subtitles, when you use the same color for the heading or the same font type throughout your whole report, you are using the principle of repetition. This principle is not only limited to fonts. You can also repeat design formats, line thickness, shapes, textures, images, videos, colors, or combinations. You can repeat pretty much anything you want. Repetition will help you create consistency in your design. It will allow your users to feel that every part of your website belongs to the same place. Contrast. Contrast is another fundamental web design principle, and as you might have already noticed, with proximity and alignment, all principles are related to each other. Repetition can help you create contrast on your website. Do you remember when we talked about proximity and we used as an example a business card? Let's apply to this example the principle of repetition, with which we will automatically create contrast. As you might have already noticed, I have taken the liberty of coloring the example a bit, so it is not so boring. In this example, we have applied the four fundamental principles of design: proximity, alignment, repetition, and automatically contrast. We have repeated the color of the main title on the subtitle. Also, we have used the same font for most of the text, except for the main title. With this, we create contrast and unity at the same time. As you can see, you don't need to be an artist to design. All you need is to be aware of the rules and principles of design. Repetition in typography. As a general rule, when designing a website, it's a good tip not to use more than 2 types of fonts. Do you know why? Yes, you guessed it right, repetition. If you use more than 2 types of fonts on your website, it could start to look a bit messy and without much consistency. Therefore, I would recommend you to use some type of serif font in conjunction with sans serif font to create contrast. But this is not a rule of thumb. In fact, you could just use one type of font and then play with the typography styles: regular, medium, bold, etc. Let's apply the principle of repetition in web design. Let's see the following design of a blog post page layout. You will learn to do something similar in next videos. You can see repetition everywhere. At first glance, you can see how the header and the footer are the same, how the intro image has the same style, and not only that, it also has the letters in the same fonts and colors. On top of that, the blog post boxes are all the same. They share the same colors, font type, and size. And the buttons also share the same color and font type. Even the paginations share the colors, type, and size. When you design, the principle of repetition not only helps you create design consistency and unity, it also helps you save time, since most of the time you will only need to duplicate a design format and replace some elements. Let's recap. Repetition must be present in your design. whether you are designing a single page website or a website with many pages. In fact, if your website has many pages, it's extremely important that you apply repetition, since this will help your users feel like they are in the same place. On the other hand, you must be careful with this principle, since if you repeat more than necessary, you could create a boring and annoying design for the user. So avoid repeating too much. Repetition is a fairly simple but very powerful principle. Now, you're ready to learn the next principle, the principle of contrast.